Madhya Lila, chapter 13. Maybe you can share the book. Partage le livre avec lui. Suivre parce que je vais lire. C'est oui. Non, oui, c'est lecture. Oui. Madhya Lila, c'est marqué. Madhya Lila, chapitre 13. Now the reason that I'm reading this, you might guess, is because tomorrow is Ratha Yatra, Hare Krishna. So some people may not know what is Ratha Yatra, or is no harm to be reminded what is Ratha Yatra. So when Krishna does something, he achieves more than one purpose. He does more than one thing. And so when Lord Chaitanya appears in this world, he has his own, what they describe, his own internal reasons for appearing. And the external reason for him appearing is that distributes the holy name. He inaugurates the Sankirtan movement. So similarly, when Lord Chaitanya, who's also Krishna, but when Lord Chaitanya when Lord Jagannath, who's Krishna, also Krishna. So Krishna is Krishna, Lord Jagannath is Krishna, and Chaitanya is Krishna. But when Lord Jagannath goes out on his cart, it's for more than one reason. So we could say the external reason that he goes out is he likes to go out and see all his devotees. He likes to go out and see the public. And so the public can also see him. People get great spiritual benefit from seeing the Rath cart. People in Paris who would never go to the temple to see Lord Jagannath, well, they will see him tomorrow in Paris. Some people will be very fortunate to see Lord Jagannath on his cart. So that's the reason he goes out. But also he goes out, and Prabhupada will explain, and if we get as far as the purport, it's a very long chapter, but Prabhupada explains that the Lord Jagannath riding on his cart is like it's his going to Vrindavan to see his devotees, his dearmost associates in Vrindavan. So Lord Jagannath lives in Puri with the goddess of fortune, which is equivalent to Dwarka. But then at some point he goes out to visit Vrindavan. So this is the internal reason for the Ratha Yatra, and this is the mood of Lord Chaitanya. When he's dancing at the Ratha Yatra, he's dancing Radharani, in the mood of Radharani, thinking of Krishna coming back to Vrindavan. Okay. Nama Om Vishnu Vidaya Krishna Vasnaya Bodhale Samadhi Bhaktivikas Swamini Namani Nama Om Vishnu Vidaya Krishna Vasnaya Bodhale Samadhi Bhaktivedanta Swamini Namani Namaste Sarasvati Devi Bhagavati Charani Vivaseshi Sangha Om Ranchakalpa Trubhis Chakri with the permission of Krishna Charan Mataji, I don't know if Gopaswami is hiding, permission, I can speak something, do this reading and speak a little bit. Chapter 13, Madhya 13, and I'm going to read from text 1. May the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, who danced in front of the car of Sri Jagannath, be all glorified. By seeing his dancing, not only was the whole universe held in wonder, but Lord Jagannath himself became very much astonished. All glories to Sri Krishna Chaitanya and Prabhu Nityananda. All glories to Advaita Chandra, and all glories to the devotees of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. All glories to the listeners of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Sinu? Krishnadas Kaviraj, he's the author of this. He's giving us his blessings. Please hear the description of the dancing of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at the Ratha Yatra festival. His dancing is very enchanting. Please hear of it with attention. Cat, on suivant cat, verset 4, right? Okay. The next day, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his personal associates got up in the dark, means very early, huh? We get up in the dark, and attentively took their early morning baths. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his personal associates then went to see the ceremony of Pandu Vijay. During this ceremony, Lord Jagannath leaves his throne and gets up onto the car. When it says a car, it means a cart, a big rath. Rath is Indian word for chariot or big cart. King Prataparudra in person, as well as his entourage, allowed the Pandu Vijay ceremony to be seen by all the associates of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his prominent devotees, Advaita Acharya, Nityananda Prabhu and others, were very happy to observe how Lord Jagannath began the Ratha Yatra. The very strongly built Daityas, carriers of Lord Jagannath deity, were as powerful as drunken elephants. They manually carried Lord Jagannath from the throne to the car. So, Lord Jagannath deity is very big. Very big, is made of wood and is heavy. Obviously, it's heavy. So there's these very strong Daityas carry him from his altar out to put him on the car. While carrying the deity of Lord Jagannath, some of the Daityas took hold of the shoulders of the Lord, and some caught his lotus feet. The Jagannath deity was bound at the waist by a strong, thick rope made of silk. So in case they dropped him, they tied him with a rope. From two sides, the Daityas caught hold of this rope and raised the deity. Strong, puffed-up cotton pads, called tulis, were spread out from the throne to the car, and the heavy deity of Lord Jagannath was carried from one pillow-like pad to the next by the Daitya. So you can imagine there's all these pillows. Yeah? So they lift him one pillow, next one, yes. So it's a series, like a series of jumps from one pillow to the other. That means this. While the Daityas carried the heavy Jagannath deity from one pad to the next, some of the pads broke and the cotton contents floated into the air. When they broke, they made a heavy cracking sound. Lord Jagannath is the maintainer of the whole universe. Who can carry him from one place to another? However, the Lord moves by his personal will, just to perform his pastimes. While the Lord was transported from the throne to the car, tumultuous sounds were made on various musical instruments. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was chanting Manima, Manima, but could not be heard. There's a purport, a short purport. It says the word Manima is used to address a respectable person in Orissa. Orissa is the state of India where the Jagannath temple is found. Lord Jagannath was being respectfully addressed by Sri Chaitanya in this way, Manima. While the Lord was being carried from the throne to the car, King Prataparudra personally engaged in the Lord's service by cleansing the road with a broom that had a golden handle. A broom means a brush. So the idea is that the road might be dirty. So before Lord Jagannath comes on his cart down the road, they brush the road. And actually in Paris they also do this. They bring, the mayor of Paris or somebody, some person, important person. And he brushes in front of the cart as the cart goes along. It's to signify, that the king is actually the servant of the Lord, and the Lord is the Lord above everybody else. Okay, the king sprinkled the road with sandalwood scented water. Although he was the owner of the royal throne, he engaged in menial service for the sake of Lord Jagannath. Although the king was the most exalted, respectable person, he accepted a menial service for the Lord. He therefore became a suitable candidate for receiving the Lord's mercy. So you can see the connection there. That if you do menial service, that is the means to get the Lord's mercy. So devotees, they do all sorts of services for the Lord, and they don't mind to do something menial, because they understand that any service for the Lord is a glorious opportunity. Upon seeing the king engaged in such menial service, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became very happy. Simply by rendering this service, the king received the mercy of the Lord. I'm going to read a little bit of the purport. Je vais lire le tenor porté 18, verset 18. Unless one receives the mercy of the Lord, he cannot understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead or engage in this devotional service. Atapite deva padabam pujadvaya prashada leshana prehita evahi. Janati tatvam bhagavam mahimno nachanya eko picharam vichinvam. Only a devotee who has received a small fraction of the mercy of the Lord can understand him. Others may engage in theoretical speculation to understand the Lord, but they cannot know anything about him. Although Maharaj Prataparuja was very eager to see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Lord refused to see him. It was because he was a king. Lord Chaitanya was a sannyasi, he wouldn't see the king, because the king was externally a materialistic person. However, when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw the king engaged in menial service for Lord Jagannath, he became very happy. Thus the king became eligible to receive Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy. If a devotee accepts Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as the universal guru and Lord Jagannath as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, he is benefited by the combined mercy of Krishna and Guru. That is stated by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his instructions to Rupa Goswami. Brahmanda Brahmati Konya Bhagavana Jiv Guru Krishna Prasadi Pai Bhakti Lata Bij. The seed of devotional service fructifies and becomes a transcendental creeper. Finally, it reaches the lotus feet of the Lord in the spiritual sky. This seed is obtained by the mercy of the Lord and the Guru. So if we have some devotional feeling, even just a tiny, tiny little bit of devotional feeling, we're attracted to do something Krishna, or we like the temple or something. It means that we have this seed. The seed has been planted in the heart, and the seed will grow. And gradually, 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 it will grow out of the material world, the spiritual world, the lotus feet of Krishna. This is called Bhakti Lata, the creeper of devotion. So we get this from the mercy of the Guru. Devotional service, the science of Bhakti Yoga, carries one from this material world to the spiritual world. Okay, next verse. Everyone was astonished to see the decorations on the Rath car. The car appeared to be newly made of gold, and it was as high as Mount Sumeru. The decorations included bright mirrors and hundreds of chamaras. Chamara is this whisk, this white whisk that we wave around. So there were hundreds and hundreds of them decorating the cart. On top of the car were a neat and clean canopy and a very beautiful flag. The car was also decorated with silken cloth and various pictures. Many brass bells, gongs and ankle bells rang. For the pastimes of the Ratha Yatra ceremony, Lord Jagannath got aboard one car, and his sister, Subhadra, and elder brother Balaram got aboard two other cars. So Lord Jagannath has a brother and a sister, and whenever we worship Jagannath, we worship him with his brother and his sister. So you will see, if you go to the Ratha Yatra or you see pictures of it, you see that there's Jagannath, Baladev and Subhadra. Of course, in Paris we only have one cart. This is the economy version, but they're all on the same cart. But traditionally they have huge carts, huge. One for each. And I think, is it Jagannath goes first, Subhadra in the middle, and Balaram at the back. Yeah. the third is the other one. And they're all pulled by ropes. They don't have a petrol engine or... For 15 days the Lord has remained in a secluded place with the goddess of fortune and had performed pastimes with her. Having taken permission from the goddess of fortune, the Lord came out to ride on the wrath cart and perform his pastimes for the pleasure of the devotees. So the Lord has to take permission from his wife to go out. The fine white sand spread all over the path resembled the bank of the Yamuna, which is the river in Vrindavan, which is the holy city for Krishna. So it resembled the bank of the Yamuna. And the small gardens on both sides just looked like those in Vrindavan. As Lord Jagannath rode in his car and saw the beauty on both sides, his mind was filled with pleasure. So I was saying it symbolically, he's going to Vrindavan. So as he was riding on the cart, he could see these features of the surroundings that were pleasing him, reminding him of Vrindavan. The pullers of the car means people, so the cart has big ropes, one rope on each side, and the people pull it, it moves by being pulled manually with these big ropes. So it says that the pullers, the people who were pulling were known as godas, and they pulled with great pleasure. However, the car sometimes went very fast and sometimes very slow. Sometimes the car would stand still and not move, even though it was pulled very vigorously. So the people were pulling, but the cart wasn't moving. What was happening? The chariot therefore moved by the will of the Lord, not by the strength of any ordinary person. So if the Krishna didn't want the Jagannath Krishna didn't want the cart to go forward, it stopped. They couldn't, it didn't matter how hard they pulled. So we can understand that nothing happens unless Krishna wants or allows it to happen. As the cart stood still, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gathered all his devotees and with his own hand decorated them with flower garlands and sandalwood pulp. So Lord Chaitanya was there with his entourage of so many followers. Paramananda Puri and Brahmananda Bharati were both personally given garlands and sandalwood pulp from the very hands of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This increased their transcendental pleasure. Similarly, when Advaita Acharya and Nityananda Prabhu felt the touch of the transcendental hand of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they were both very pleased. The Lord also gave garlands and sandalwood pulp to the performers of Sankirtan. The two chief performers were Swarup Damodar and Srivas Thakur. There were altogether 4 parties of kirtan performers, comprising 24 chanters, 24 singers. Yeah, there were 24 singers. And in each party there were also 2 Madanga players, making it an additional 8 persons. So it seems like there were 26 in each group and there were 4 groups. When the 4 parties were formed, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, after some consideration, divided the chanters. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ordered Nityananda Prabhu, Advaita Acharya, Haridas Thakur and Vakreshwara Pandit to dance in each of the 4 respective parties. So he was saying, now you're singing and you are dancing. Swarup Damodar was chosen as the lead of the first party and was given 5 assistants to respond to his chanting. So he's Swarup Damodar, you're going to be the singer and you're going to be the chorus. Very organized, huh? Wasn't all random. The 5 who responded to the singing of Swarup Damodar were Damodar Pandit, Narayan, Govinda Dat, Raghava Pandit and Sri Govindananda. Advaita Acharya Prabhu was ordered to dance in the first group. The Lord then formed another group with Srivas Thakur as the chief man. 5 singers who responded to the singing of Srivas Thakur were Gangadas, Haridas, Sriman Shubhananda, and Sri Ram Pandit. Sri Nityananda Prabhu was appointed as a dancer. Another group was formed consisting of Vasudev, Gopinath and Murari. These were all responsive singers, and Mukunda was the chief singer. Another 2 persons, Shrikant and Vallabha Sen, joined as responsive singers. In this group, Haridas Thakur was the dancer. The Lord formed another group, appointing Govinda Ghosh as the leader. In this group, the younger Haridas, Vishnudas and Raghava were the responding singers. 2 brothers named Madhava Ghosh and Vasudev Ghosh also joined this group as responsive singers. Akrishra Pandit was the dancer. Akrishra Pandit is very famous. Sometimes he would dance for 72 hours without stopping. He'd be in so much ecstasy. 72 hours, without eating or bathroom or just dancing.
How old was Haridas Thakur?
The old Haridas Thakur, I don't know.
How old was he?
I could ask you.
Chaitanya was 35, 30.
Yeah. He was older than Lord Chaitanya. There's not much known. There's not much known about Haridas Thakur, is there?
No.
There's not much known about. They don't know where he was born or when he was born exactly, or
Probably around 60, yeah?
must have been, yeah. But he was dancing.
Yeah.
Advaita Acharya, he was also.
Advaita Acharya, sorry?
Advaita Acharya also danced.
Yeah.
Advaita Acharya.
Yeah, he was also old.
Yeah.
And he also danced.
Yeah. You can't. Well, Prabhupada also danced. Huh? There's a famous pastime of Prabhupada in London, dancing at the Ratha Yatra. Because the day before he was in Calcutta, and he was so ill that he couldn't get out of bed, he couldn't do anything, he was just lying in bed very, very ill. But somehow he got the flight to London and went to the Ratha Yatra. But as soon as the Ratha Yatra started, Prabhupada started dancing and jumping and ecstasy, and he danced all the way. Like the Ratha Yatra must have been a couple of hours, from Hyde Park to what do they call it, Trafalgar Square, and he danced the whole way. The day before he'd be like almost leaving his body. Yes, inconceivable pastimes of Srila Prabhupada. Sorry. And how you understand something, but
Janananda Goswami Maharaj as well. I think was a few years ago. He broke his ankle on the stairs, and the day after was at Ratha Yatra, and he was on a wheelchair. But somehow, sometimes he was just stand up from the wheelchair and start to dance.
Good dancer.
Yeah.
He's more than 70.
Yeah. 73.
probably tomorrow he'll be dancing like
Oh,
another
that's
year.
for sure.
It said that when you have this kind of ecstasy, you go out of the bodily concept of life.
Yes.
You're just dancing, transcendental dancing. I mean, that's the title of this chapter, isn't it? The transcendental dancing of Lord Chaitanya. There's no bodily consideration. There was a Sankirtan party from the village known as Kulinagram, and Ramananda and Satyaraj were appointed dancers in this group. There was another party that came from Shantipur and was formed by Advaita Acharya. Achyutananda was the dancer, and the rest of the men were singers. Another party was formed by the people of Kanda. These people were singing in a different place, and in that group, Narahari, Prabhu and Raghunandan were dancing. Might seem a little bit repetitive, but just hearing the names of these great devotees, who had the personal association with Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya was personally putting sandalwood paste and garlands on them. Just hearing their names is spiritually very powerful. 4 parties chanted and danced in front of Lord Jagannath, and on both sides there were 2 parties, another was at the rear. There were altogether 7 parties of Sankirtan, and in each party 2 men were beating drums. Thus, 14 drums were being played at once. The sound was tumultuous, and all the devotees became mad. So 14 mridangas. We sometimes have 2, maybe a big festival we might have 3, but they have 14. So it's really boom, boom. It would be good if we could do this in Paris. Yeah, really. Anyway, one day it will happen in Paris. All the Vaishnavas came together like an assembly of clouds. As the devotees chanted the holy names, tears fell in ecstasy, like rainfall from their eyes. Just so much ecstasy. When the Sankirtan resounded, it filled the 3 worlds. Indeed, no one could hear mundane sounds or musical instruments other than the Sankirtan. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wandered through all 7 groups, chanting the holy name, Hari, Hari. Raising his arms, he shouted, all glories to Lord Jagannath! Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then exhibited another mystic power by performing pastimes simultaneously in all 7 groups. Everyone said, look, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is present in my group. Indeed, he does not go anywhere else. He is bestowing his mercy upon us. So he was in each group. He expanded himself in the 7 forms. So everybody, they didn't see there were 6 other forms. They just saw him in their group. It's like if, we're having prasad and Janananda Maharaj is sitting with us, but he's actually sitting with everybody, So Lord Chaitanya is it's also like that. Krishna is in the heart of everybody. Everybody has Krishna with them permanently in their heart. So it's not a surprising thing that Lord Chaitanya can expand himself like this. But this was visibly done. It was visibly. A few devotees could actually see him in each group. He is bestowing his mercy upon us. That's what they were thinking. Only in our group. Actually, no one could see the inconceivable potency of the Lord. Only the most confidential devotees, those in pure unalloyed devotional service, could understand. Lord Jagannath was very pleased by the Sankirtan, and he brought his car to a standstill just to see the performance. Sometimes there's something that's very attractive, we stop still, isn't it? We just stop and look. So Lord Jagannath was like that, he just stopped the cart, just looking at this, all this singing and dancing, and Lord Chaitanya. King Prataparudra was also astonished to see the Sankirtan. He became inactive and was converted to ecstatic love of Krishna. So the king had got the mercy, and the next thing he got ecstatic love. When the king informed Kashi Mishra of the glories of the Lord, Kashi Mishra said, "O king, your fortune has no limit." The king and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya were both aware of the Lord's activities, but no one else could see the tricks of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Only a person who has received the mercy of the Lord can understand. Without the Lord's mercy, even the demigods, headed by Lord Brahma, cannot understand. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very satisfied to see the king accept the menial task of sweeping the street, and for this humility the king received the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He could therefore observe the mystery of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's activities. Although the king was refused an interview, he was indirectly bestowed the causeless mercy. Who can understand the internal potency of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Like we mentioned before, that Lord Chaitanya, he refused to meet the king because he was a materialistic person externally. But then, at the Ratha Yatra, the king actually got the mercy so that he could see these pastimes of Lord Chaitanya. So if you get the mercy of the Lord, anything's possible. When the two great personalities, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and Kashi Mishra, saw Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's causeless mercy upon the king, they were astonished. Suddenly the king's in spiritual ecstasy. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu performed his pastimes for some time in this way. He personally sang and induced his personal associates to dance. According to his need, the Lord sometimes exhibited one form and sometimes many. This was being executed by his internal potency. Indeed, the personality of Godhead forgot himself in the course of his transcendental pastimes, but his internal potency, Lila Shakti, knowing the intentions of the Lord, made all the arrangements. It's a bit of a complicated philosophical point there, isn't it? But Lord Chaitanya or Lord Krishna also, they just absorbed in the situation, absorbed in enjoying. But there's part of them, there's an expansion, there's Shakti, an energy that takes care of everything. It's like Krishna is still, everything's still being run and organized by Krishna, but it's his energy doing it, so that he personally is enjoying and forgets that he's God. He's just dancing at the Ratha Yatra, but actually he is God because his Shakti is organising everything at the same time. But we can't do like that. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, I'd read a little bit of the purport. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu exhibited his mystic power in presenting himself simultaneously in each and every Sankirtan group. Most people thought that he was one, but some saw that he was many. The internal devotees could understand that the Lord, although one, was exhibiting himself as in the many different Sankirtan groups. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu danced, he forgot himself and was simply absorbed in ecstatic bliss. However, his internal potency arranged everything perfectly. This is the difference between the internal and external potency. In the material world, the external potency can act only after one endeavours at great length. We have to work very hard for things to happen. But when the Supreme Lord desires, everything is performed automatically by the internal potency. By his will, things happen so nicely and perfectly that they appear to be carried out automatically. I won't read any more because so much. Really, we didn't get very far in the chapter. So Krishna is running everything by his expanded energies. Just as Lord Krishna formerly performed the Rasa Lila dance and other pastimes at Vrindavan, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu performed uncommon pastimes moment after moment. When Lord Krishna performed the Rasa dance, there were millions and billions of gopis, but each one had Krishna next to her. Each one that thought was Krishna was dancing with her only. But Krishna expanded himself in the same way. Yeah? And then when he has all these wives, in Dwarka he has 16,108 wives. And he's living in each palace with each wife. So, Krishna's inconceivable activities. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's dancing before the Ratha Yatra could be perceived only by pure devotees. Others could not understand. Descriptions of Lord Krishna's uncommon dancing can be found in the revealed scripture Srimad Bhagavatam. In this way, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu danced in great jubilation and inundated all the people with waves of ecstatic love. So everyone was affected by his dancing. Yeah? If you see somebody dancing really ecstatically, it affects you. Yeah? Because when you see bhakti, if you go close to somebody who's got bhakti, the bhakti affects you. Yeah? You're in Srila Prabhupada's presence, you feel the influence of his intense bhakti. So it was like that. Lord Chaitanya was dancing and everybody around him was... Lord Jagannath mounted his car and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu inspired all the devotees to dance in front of it. Now please hear about Lord Jagannath's going to Gundicha, where Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu danced before the Rath Car. I don't know if we should read a little bit more. It's already nearly 8:45. We read a little bit more?
Yeah.
Yeah? Some people can...
Yeah,
Yes.
requested It's not out yet. You will hear the car.
Oh yeah, okay, so when the cart, we hear the cart.
Yeah.
The breakfast cart, not the Jagannath cart. Okay, we'll wait till we hear the cart. Now please hear about Lord Jagannath's going to Gundicha. So Gundicha represents Vrindavan, yeah? He's going from Puri, which represents Dwarka, to Vrindavan. When the Lord himself wanted to dance, all 7 groups combined together. The Lord's devotees, including Srivas, Ramai, Raghu, Govinda, Mukunda, Haridas, Govindananda, Madhava, and Govinda all combined together. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu desired to jump high while dancing, he placed these 9 people in charge of Swarup Damodar. These devotees sang along with the Lord, and they also ran beside him, and all the other groups of men also sang. Offering obeisances to the Lord with folded hands, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu raised his face toward Jagannath and prayed as follows. Lord Chaitanya sings, "Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto Lord Krishna, who is the worshipable deity for all Brahmanical men, who is the well-wisher of the cows and Brahmanas, who is always benefiting the whole world. I offer my repeated obeisances to the personality of Godhead known as Krishna and Govinda." So when we offer food to Krishna, we say this prayer. Namo Brahmanyate Govamanyate Jaya Krishna Govindaya Namo Namaha. So it's from the Vishnu Purana. Right? And then he said, "All glories to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is known as the son of Devaki. All glories to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is known as the light of the dynasty of Vrishni. All glories to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose bodily luster is like that of a new cloud, and whose body is as soft as a lotus flower. All glories to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who appeared on this planet to deliver the world from the burden of demons, who can offer liberation to everyone." So he was saying these prayers to Lord Jagannath. Lord Shri Krishna is he who is known as Jananivas, the ultimate resort of all living entities, and who is also known as Devaki Nandan, Yashodanandan, the son of Devaki and Yashoda. He is the guide of the Yadu dynasty, and with his mighty arms he kills everything inauspicious, as well as every man who is impious. By his presence he destroys all things inauspicious for all living entities, moving and inert. His blissful smiling face always increases the lusty desires of the gopis of Vrindavan. May he be all glorious and happy. So this is another, he still can pray. It's another verse he's offering to Lord Jagannath. I am not a Brahmana, I am not a Kshatriya, I am not a Vaishya or a Shudra. I am a brahmachari, nor am I a brahmachari, a householder, a vanaprast, or a sannyasi. I identify myself only as the servant of the servant of the servant of the lotus feet of Lord Shri Krishna, the maintainer of the gopis. He is like an ocean of nectar, and he is the cause of universal transcendental bliss. He is always existing with brilliance. So a devotee is a servant, but we're not just a servant, but we're the servant of the servant of the servant of the servant of the servant. And the further back you go, more people you're serving, the more it's ecstatic. Because you're serving so many Vaishnavas. It's the opposite of the material world, isn't it? You want to be the Lord of the Lord of the Lord of the Lord of the Lord. Having recited all these verses from scripture, the Lord again offered his obeisances, and all the devotees with folded hands also offer prayers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu danced high, roaring like thunder and moving like a circle, in a circle like a wheel, he appeared like a circling firebrand. Firebrand, I don't know what a firebrand is. They used to mark things. You know, they used to mark sometimes I think even cattle, but prisoners. They would mark them with a red hot metal stamp. You know, they would stamp it to make a number, you know, or a symbol on the flesh, you know, and because it was red hot, it would be like shh, and it would make a scar, and that would be like a mark. And it's called a firebrand. I think you can also do it on wood. You can make, you know, like a scorch mark on wood to make a, you know, a symbol, whatever you want. But this red hot thing that is called a firebrand. So Lord Chaitanya was whirling and whirling, and he looked like one of these red hot metal. They used to do it with the tilak when they initiated devotees. They used to put the tilak with a firebrand.
Some Sri Vaishnavas still do it.
Yeah, imagine. Now we're going to initiate you.
I don't know how they do it on a head, but they put this marks on arms, on marks.
Yeah, not on the head.
Not on the head, on
Yeah.
the arms.
Wow. People sometimes do it with tattoo. Anyway. When she did, oh, he danced looked like a firebrand. Wherever Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu stepped while dancing, the whole earth with its hills and seas appeared to tilt. He was stepping it seemed so heavily that the earth was, you know, moving out of line by the weight. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu danced, he displayed various transcendental changes in his body. Sometimes he appeared as though stunned. Sometimes the hairs of his body stood on end. Sometimes he perspired, cried, trembled, and changed colour. And sometimes he exhibited symptoms of helplessness, pride, exuberance, and humility. So all sorts of spiritual emotions. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu fell down with a crash while dancing, he would roll on the ground. At such times it appeared that a golden mountain was rolling on the ground. We can think about this tomorrow, if you go to the Rasa Yatra tomorrow. Remember Lord Chaitanya rolling on the ground like a golden mountain. Nityananda Prabhu would stretch out his two hands and try to catch the Lord when he was running here and there. Advaita Acharya would walk behind the Lord, chanting, Haribol! Haribol! Again and again. Just to check the crowds from coming too near the Lord, they formed 3 circles. So there's circles of devotees around. Okay? The first circle was guided by Nityananda Prabhu, who was Balaram himself, the possessor of great strength. All the devotees headed by Kashishwar and Govinda linked hands and formed a second circle around the Lord. Maharaj Prataparudra and his personal assistants formed a 3rd circle around the 2 inner circles, just to check the crowd from coming too near. With his hands on the shoulders of Harichandra, King Prataparudra could see Lord Chaitanya dancing, and the king felt great ecstasy. While the king beheld the dancing, Srivas Thakur, standing in front of him, became so ecstatic as he saw the dancing of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Seeing Srivas Thakur standing before the king, Harichandran touched Srivas with his hand and requested him to step aside, because it's not the etiquette to stand in front of the king. If the king's looking and you're standing in front, you would move aside because that's the king. So Harichandran asked Srivas, oh wow, the king's... Absorbed in watching Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Srivas Thakur could not understand why he was being touched and pushed. After he was pushed again and again, he became angry. Srivas Thakur slapped Harichandran to stop him pushing him. And he turned around and said, leave me alone. As the angered Harichandran was about to speak, Srivas Thakur, Prataparudra Maharaj personally stopped him. So Prataparudra Maharaj knew what was going on. Prataparudra said, you are very fortunate, for you have been graced by the touch of Srivas Thakur. I am not so fortunate. You should feel obliged to him. He'd been slapped by Srivas Thakur. It's actually an enviable thing. Because Srivas Thakur is actually Narada Muni, isn't he? It's great devotee. Everyone was astonished by the dancing of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and even Lord Jagannath became extremely happy to see him. The car came to a complete standstill and remained immobile while Lord Jagannath, with unblinking eyes, watched the dancing of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Lord Jagannath has very big eyes. And you say he's not blinking because he's always just has his wide open eyes. The goddess of fortune, Subhadra, and Lord Balaram both felt great happiness and ecstasy within their hearts. Indeed, they were seen smiling at the dancing. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu danced and jumped high, 8 wonderful transformations indicative of divine ecstasy were seen in his body. All these symptoms were visible simultaneously. His skin erupted with goose pimples. Is that peau de poil? Isn't it? Peau de...
Chair de poule. C'est la chair de poule.
Chair de poule. Yeah. Chair de poule. His skin erupted with goose pimples, and the hairs of his body stood on end. His body resembled a shimuli, silk cotton tree, all covered with thorns. So his hairs were all standing erect on his body out of ecstasy. Indeed, people became afraid just to see his teeth chatter. They even thought his teeth would fall out. So that's another spiritual ecstasy. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's whole body flowed with perspiration, at the same time oozed blood. He made the sounds jaja gaga in a voice choked with ecstasy. This is probably a little bit difficult to understand anyway. It's purifying to hear it, whether we understand or not. Tears came forcefully from the eyes of the Lord, as if from a syringe, and all the people surrounding him became wet. Everybody became wet. There was so much water squirting from his eyes. Everyone saw the complexion of his body change from white to pink, so that his luster resembled that of the malika flower. Sometimes he appeared stunned, and sometimes he rolled on the ground. Indeed, sometimes his legs and hands became as hard as dry wood, and he did not move. When the Lord fell on the ground, sometimes his breathing almost stopped. When the devotees saw this, their lives became very feeble. They became disturbed to see him lying on the ground, a stiff body. Water flowed from his eyes and sometimes through his nostrils, and foam came from his mouth. These flowings appeared to be torrents of nectar descending from the moon. The foam which fell from the mouth of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was taken and drunk by Shubhananda, because he was very fortunate and expert in relishing the mellow of ecstatic love of Krishna. Again, it's a bit taking the foam, drinking the foam from somebody's mouth. These are the pastimes of pure devotees on the Lord. After performing his devastating dance for some time, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mind entered into a mood of ecstatic love. After abandoning the dancing, the Lord ordered Swarup Damodar to sing. Understanding his mind, Swarup Damodar began to sing as follows. So Lord, it says that in the Chaitanya Charitamrita that Swarup Damodar was like the personified mind of Lord Chaitanya. He knew exactly what Lord Chaitanya was feeling. He could always understand the Lord's mood, and he would sing and respond just according to the Lord's mood. So now he sings, "Now I have gained the Lord of my life, in the absence of whom I was being burned by Cupid and was withering away." So this is Lord Chaitanya's feelings because he's in the mood of Radharani. So when Radharani meets Krishna, she's sentiment. When this refrain was loudly sung by Swarup Damodar, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu again began rhythmically dancing in transcendental bliss. The car of Lord Jagannath began to move slowly, while the son of Mother Sakshi went ahead and danced in front. While dancing and singing, all the devotees in front of Lord Jagannath kept their eyes on him. So even they were dancing in front, they were looking back, seeing the Lord. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then went to the end of the procession with the Sankirtan performers.
his mind and eyes fully absorbed in Lord Jagannath, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu began to play the drama of the song with his two arms. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was dramatically enacting the song, he would sometimes fall behind in the procession. At such times, Lord Jagannath would come to a standstill, and when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu again went forward, Lord Jagannath's cart would slowly start again. So Lord Jagannath was responding with Lord Jagannath, with Chaitanya's mood. There was a rasa going on between Jagannath, who's Krishna, and Lord Chaitanya in the mood of Radharani. There was a sort of competition between Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Jagannath in seeing who would lead. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was so strong that he made Lord Jagannath wait in his car. Okay. Is the trolley gone yet? Did we hear the trolley? Is it gone?
Yes.
Okay, breakfast is ready.
Haribo!
Okay. So if you want to read, continue reading. That we got as far as verse 119, 79. And it's chapter 13, chapter 13. Okay. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki, Ratha Yatra ki, Jai. It's nice to eat breakfast after Ekadashi, huh? You fast on Ekadashi, or you don't eat so much, and then you have nice fresh bread or whatever for breakfast.
Yes. Nice.
Krishna Prasadam.
Nice choice to read about these pastimes before Ratha Yatra.
I didn't know what to read, and then the idea came, of course that's what I do. Of course that's what I should do.
Yeah.
No choice. Then
Yeah. Full of good ideas.
Krishna gives the ideas.
C'est un très bon choix pour nous mettre dedans. L'investissement de 26.
Uh-huh.
Très bon choix pour nous mettre
Wait, c'est Krishna. Parce que il told, Madhavendra Puri m'a dit, il faut donner la classe de samedi
Oh, that's yours.
avant le Rath Yatra.